Arvi, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you.
So recently you secured a massive financing for a project in the US. I want to dig into some of those details now. Could you tell me a little bit about it and why you're so excited?
Yeah, absolutely. The financing you mentioned is on our sort of flagship project known as One Beverly Hills in LA. It's a project we've been working on for a number of years and really is transforming what is probably one of the most famous postcodes in the world in 90210. But that was a project, as I said, we've been working for a number of years and very closely with the city of Beverly Hills to bring something unique out of the ground and really reactivate a land parcel that had remained somewhat untouched for decades. But it's really a transformation of the area and being very much sort of hospitality and brand-led in its approach. There is the iconic Beverly Hilton that sits there that is under our ownership. That will be part of the redevelopment, will be renovated as part of this project. But adjacent to it is a very large land parcel which we acquired, which will be home to the first Aman urban project on the west coast of the United States. In addition to Aman branded residences, as well as uniquely for the area, a large amount of public landscape botanical gardens to really, make it a much more friendly ecosystem and attract footfall and be really beneficial to the local community. And rounding that off is a significant amount of commercial space. Again, really driven by some of the more premium global brands in terms of whether it's retail or whether it's sort of F&B offering. Again, creating this very unique, curated environment in a very, very unique location at a very, very unique scale. And that project, as I said, is something we've been working on for a long time, and we closed a $4.3 billion construction financing, enabling us to complete this project, hopefully in time for the 2028 Olympics in LA. And really is a testament to us bringing the right partners together, the right brands, the right project. And I think the power of that is shown in the capital led by JP Morgan and Vici that have come into the project alongside us to help develop this really unique project.
And what do you think that says about the state of hospitality lending and the appetite for lenders to back hospitality projects? Because we hear a lot about data centers, logistics and stuff, which obviously are big markets, but like hotels are still really attractive to lenders, aren't they?
No, absolutely. And I think this has been a significant shift over the last 2 decades, generally in the investment world, that hospitality has really become an accepted institutional asset class, which it wasn't as much if we go back a number of years. And as I was mentioned earlier, the fact that this project is of such scale and is really driven by the hospitality factor within it, having Aman, having the Beverly Hilton, and being adjacent to the Waldorf Astoria, that is something that really resonated with the capital markets, and it was visible in their willingness to invest in the project at such scale. You mentioned that data centers, yes, drive a huge amount of capital in the world. I think this, outside of the data center world, this is probably one of the largest, if not the largest, financing completed in the last 2 decades. Certainly if you ask something like ChatGPT or Grok and so on. So we're very proud of it. And we, as I said, we think it's really a testament to the curated project we developed and the partners and brands we've able to bring together to bring this project out of the ground.
Well, maybe we can shift gears slightly and talk about the Cain team. And you've recently launched a new dedicated customer experience part of the business. I mean, could you talk a bit about that and how it drives your investment going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that we think differentiates us to sort of typical investors in the market. We take the view that our assets really are as only good as the occupier. And so really focusing on the occupiers is of extreme importance. And what does that mean? That really means the experience from the first touch point with our assets through to experience the environment within the assets and what the sort of the engagement, the relationship that person creates with our assets. Why is that important? Why? Because it drives loyalty. It drives occupiers towards our assets. I liken it to, for example, some technology products, where if you have 2 identical products, one looks better, one has a better user experience, the other is very generic. Which one are you going to choose, all else being equal, right?
That really matters. It really matters, doesn't it?
It really matters. And there are certain firms in the world, which I won't name, but which are obviously extremely successful in doing that. And so as part of that initiative in focusing on the customer, focusing on their experience, being able to implement modern technologies to really drive that. We established our CX division. We brought in a lady called Anna Brandt, who used to be executive vice president at Wynn, who's extremely experienced in this sector to help drive that part of our business. And we're doing some really, really exciting things in our R&D department around that. And we really think it works. It's a win-win situation. It works both ways. Not only does the customer have a much better experience within our asset, which is great. That's what we want people to have. But also, if I put on the investment financial hat, it's clearly beneficial for the asset. Clearly a way to drive value and performance of our underlying asset, which is of course important to us and our stakeholders as we look to expand our portfolio on a global basis.
And you obviously also work with some of the biggest brand names and brands and operators in the hotel space. I mean, what have you learned from working with them, and how do you apply it to your projects going forward?
Look, we're very fortunate to have been able to have positions. For example, as you know, we're a shareholder in Aman Hotels, as well as the Delano brand, alongside Ennismore and Accor. And I think that again illustrates the point that we take a very 360 view around certainly hospitality. We want to understand what drives performance, what makes an asset successful, and what's important for our customers, for our clients. And having visibility through the brands is a big part of that. And something that we've seen, if you think about these brands, they're very good at defining and protecting their brand and how they apply that to an asset. Very different, Aman, Delano, as two examples. Aman, peace, security, tranquility. They have a certain design ethos, one that's trusted, they have their Aman junkies who are really become committed followers, which has taken a long time to develop. This isn't something that they did overnight. And that has allowed them to really be trusted in all the major markets in the world, which they're expanding into, urban or resort, and really be able to drive that success of their assets. People know what to expect, you know what you experience. The service is paramount. The consistency of service is paramount. And again, that resonates very well with our CX division, what we're trying to achieve through that, whether it's Aman or other brands. Similarly, Delano, very different. Lifestyle, resonates with the local market, the local environment, fits into the city, whether it's the Delano Miami Beach, the iconic asset which we own, the Delano Maison Delano in Paris. We recently bought the Dominic in New York, which will be converted to Delano New York, a quintessential New York skyscraper made of glass, really resonates with the New York market, bringing in that exciting Delano brand to really activate the asset, drive occupancy not only for the hotel guests, but also even for the local community. And I think that's something that the most powerful brands are able to do extremely successfully. And again, that drives loyalty, that drives performance, and that drives growth in their own brands, which is something we like to participate in as well.
I guess one of the challenges for Cain and for others is that luxury and lifestyle are such buzzy sectors now. A lot of other competitors in the market. How do you make sure you've got the edge, and how do you win compared to other people? Well,
I think an important part is really looking at it, as I emphasize, on a truly holistic basis. Again, a phrase that's possibly overused. We're not a commoditized real estate investor or developer. We're not just trying to do what everyone has and replicate it all over the world. We're highly selective, and that comes on both sides. It comes both on having an asset that can really address a target audience that resonates with the local environment, the local market, at the same time as economically speaking, as an investor, as a developer, having the best prospects in that particular market. We have an in-house development team expertise. We have in-house investment expertise. We have in-house customer experience expertise. So if we can marry that all together with a market that has strong sector fundamentals, the right drivers, the right audience, where a curated luxury lifestyle asset will resonate, then if you can marry all of that together, you can create a very successful asset, and the performance will deliver on its own.
And how does that play into scaling the business? Because obviously you're very selective on it, but you still want to grow. So how do you pick the right opportunities to go into? It's probably quite difficult, isn't it?
It's hard work. Some people like to liken it to being a truffle pig. You're running around trying to find the best opportunities. And look, we're a believer in a business of having the best talent in each part of our organization, and the same goes with our investment and origination team. Having dedicated expertise there who know which markets to look at, how to uncover opportunity, how to find those assets. But I think an important part is Cain is part of an even bigger ecosystem, as where we are founded as a partnership with Eldridge Industries, which is a very large organization with investments across a variety of sectors, from sports and entertainment, media, technology, as well as other investment asset classes. That business is led by a gentleman called Todd Bowley, who has interest in exciting things like sports teams like Chelsea and LA Lakers, LA Dodgers, as well as business like A24, the production studio, which won a whole number of Oscars. The rights to the Golden Globes, which are held at the Beverly Hilton, which we own in LA, as well as a number of other, complementary assets. So having this broad network is something that enables us to really uncover exceptional opportunities that not necessarily are available, to every investor out there. And to your point, it's really about hunting, trying to find the right asset. And when we find something we have high conviction, is leaning in, taking a long-term view and delivering that asset effectively through our own investment and development teams to get the asset out of the ground.
It's a great place to finish, Arvi. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.